you need your glasses.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Well, if that's not enough, now we're going to hear the theme song from Star Wars.
Yes.
There it is.
I'm envisioning that opening scene, you know? The words. Very nice, Jeff. Very nice. So that's a great introduction for Rhema Davis, who is going to be sharing with you her, I don't know, her fourth being with you story. And I'll let her offer a deep dive into her life that's brought her here with us today. And we welcome Rhema Davis to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Rhema Davis, and a little bit about my background. When I was 11, my parents had been divorced for a little while, and my mother started going to Al-Anon. And so I was taken to kind of drug to Alateen, whether I liked it or not. And I fell in love with it, and I stayed there until I was 18 and went into the Navy. And one of my early trainings from my mother was never say never. And so when a letter came in the mail to me, because my name was Rhema, they mistaken me for Raymond. And they said, Rhema, how would you like to join the Navy? We'd love to have you. And my girlfriend and I were drunk. I mean, we were 3 sheets of the wind. And the next morning we went down and signed up. We thought, this will get us out of the house. We lived in LA, and it was really expensive, even then, to get out on your own. And so we joined the Navy. And it was an incredible experience. I loved most of it, hated some of it. But I was there for only a couple of years because I got sick with Crohn's and had to get a medical discharge. So I did that. And they said, oh, by the way, you should probably go to the Veterans Department and apply for benefits. So I did that. And then when I got married to my husband, I was 24, Obi, he said, you're paying more in medication costs than you're getting from the Navy. You should be getting more money from the military. So he went through the whole process of, anyway, got lots of money. It was nice. We bought our first house. My spiritual training started really about when I was 18. My mom started going to Science Mind. And back then it was called Religious Science. I started going with her whenever I came home almost every weekend from the Navy. And so I would go with her on Sunday and then get in my car and drive back out to the military base I was stationed at. By the way, I joined the Navy over the Air Force because I wanted to be by the water. And I got stationed at China Lake Naval Weapons Center out in the middle of the Mojave Desert. So that is a little bit about my background. I stayed in Science Mind until currently, still in it. I have 2 churches I go to on Sunday afternoons to do the video. One is the Portland Center, and then I go to the Santa Rosa Center. And they're now called Centers for Spiritual Living. which is a much friendlier title than religious science. Anyway, I became a minister, first a practitioner in '84, and then a minister in '86. And I didn't do anything with my minister's training until I think it was about 45. And then I became the assistant minister for Marcia Pierce, Dr. Marcia Pierce, as some of you may remember. And because she really saw in me what I didn't see in myself at the time. And I absolutely loved it, enjoyed it, had a blast being a minister. And then we moved to Florence. And that was 10 years ago. And we moved here because of the heat in Oakland, Oregon, which is by Roseburg. And also because I noticed that my husband was starting to show some signs of dementia. And we were on a 35-acre farm, and it was just too much. So we moved to Florence. And then I started coming here because we don't have a Science Mind Center here. Hi guys over there, I'm not trying to ignore you, I'm trying to talk in the microphone. All right, so my talk is May the 4th be with you. I had a very major surgery on May the 4th. In 2016, I jumped off the back of the truck on our final load that we brought over from our house, and didn't know that I had 3 broken bones in that foot, in my right foot, and my arch just collapsed. And so that was very painful, but saw a podiatrist, and she put me in a cast for 8 months. You know, she changed it every 2 weeks, but was in a cast for 8 months. But I had this date. She did her surgeries only 1 day a week, and it was May the 4th. And that was coming up in like 2 months. So I would come here with my cast or my boot on. People would say, oh, what's going on with your foot? How's it going? What's going to happen? And I would say, may the 4th be with me. Just keep that in mind, may the 4th be with me. Because, you know, I was raised in a positive thinking science of mind, where what you put out into the universe, you get back. Simple as that. You put out love, you get love back. You put out support, you get support back. And so I had been trained to do that for many years. And I realized that people at FOOF didn't necessarily have that background. And so a lot of you guys do, because a lot of you guys are science of mind. But I wanted to make sure that I was putting out, I wasn't saying, oh, well, I'm gonna have this really big surgery and, you know, kind of whining about it. Instead, I said, well, it's on May the 4th, and that's Star Wars Day, and may the 4th be with me, so may the Force be with me. And every time I interacted with anybody, and they wanted to know anything about my foot or my surgery, that's what I told them. Just know that the Force is with me on May the 4th. And I had a wonderful surgery, wonderful recovery, and I do believe that, then I found out that this was the surgeon's first time putting on one of those, you know those things people wear when they break their neck and they have to wear this halo? Well, I had a halo on my leg connected to my foot. And I wore that for 3 months. She had never put one on before. So she had the guy that, the person that orders, you know, the equipment, he came and put it on me at the hospital. So I didn't know that much about her background. And that was a good thing, because she did a fabulous job. He did a fabulous job of putting it on. So my whole belief system is centered around the idea that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, not the other way around. We are spiritual beings here on this planet, and we are going through a human experience. So the things that happen to you or that you go through one of two ways. You can go through with a positive attitude and knowing the truth about what will be your best outcome, or you can go through it kind of whining and moaning, and we get a chance to whine and moan. Certainly. I've been whining and moaning a lot since last July. I got a kidney transplant, which was wonderful, and yet came with a whole host of problems. So I'm not going to go into that though. So that was my May the 4th surgery story. And I do believe that my beliefs and my imagination have shifted my life, and how this force that I now choose to call God, didn't call it God for a long time, but I call it God now, how that has become an integral part of my beingness. And for me, it only becomes an integral part of my beingness if I practice it daily. Now, there are days that go by that I don't practice anything. And I often feel like at the end of the day, that I got off on the wrong side of the bed. You know that feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I have learned, and I gotta get a drink here. What I have learned is that one small positive thought in the morning can change your whole day. Can change your whole day. So if you feel like you're getting up on the wrong side of the bed, just pick up something and read it that's positive. Anything, it doesn't matter what. I have a little sign that says, one small positive thought in the morning can change your whole day. It's a little sign I have.
Works.
All of this works, yeah, it does. So I want to bring in Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of Science Mind. And he said, speaking of Easter, just a few weeks ago, the resurrection, that's what he believed the resurrection was about. The resurrection is the death of the belief that we are separate from God. So let me say that again. The resurrection is the death of the belief that we are separate from God. And that's the joining of Jesus ascending to heaven. That was what his belief was. And to me, I'll read what I've got. What it means to live a spiritual life is to die to an old way of thinking and to be reborn into a new way of being, or more precisely, to uncover more of our true self. I've got a story for you now. My mother used to tell me this story all the time when I was a teenager, regularly. You know how teen girls go. I was just a typical teenage girl. So, and this is about bees. And this is kind of interesting. Bees are the only insect that provide humans with food. Unless you eat the insects, but you know what I mean. Bees are the only insect that make food for human consumption. And that's the honey and the other derived products from the bees. So my mother used to tell this story. This was shortly after they had gone through a pretty nasty divorce. Back in those days, you had to have cause, right? And so my mother had to catch my father with this other woman, which was just not fun. So when the hive loses its queen, who alone is able to give life to the colony and maintain order? Oh, and I found this story on the internet. It's the whole story she used to tell me. So who alone is able to give life to the colony and maintain order in a perfectly organized society when all seems lost? The life of the hive slows down. Without new eggs, the future is lost. In a few weeks, the colony could be doomed. But the bees do not panic, nor do they expect salvation from the outside. Demonstrating extraordinary collective intelligence and profound instincts, they trigger a spectacular emergency procedure, almost unimaginable in a world dominated by insects. The transformation begins with a simple but essential choice. The worker bees choose a common larvae, one who would normally be a mere worker. They are nothing special. They are not born different, but their fate changes completely. And this is what her lesson was to me. They are chosen to receive a special food called royal jelly, a rare substance produced by healthy bees, rich in vitamins, minerals, and bioactive compounds. This is royal food in the purest sense of the word. The larvae are fed exclusively with this substance. They no longer follow the normal path. Within a few days, their bodies develop differently. The ovaries become active. That was another point. The body grows larger, stronger, and the lifespan multiplied by almost 20. She will not work. She will command. She will not follow a routine. She will give life. The queen is not chosen based on her genes, without fireworks and support and vision. A leader is born out of a crisis. This metamorphosis does not just save the larvae, it saves the entire colony. Once the new queen is ready, she takes over the hive, begins to lay eggs, restores order, and begins a new cycle of collective life. Threatened with extinction, the colony is reborn stronger, more organized, and more balanced. A silent but profound lesson. The bee shows us without words that in times of great crisis, despair is not a gamble, but clarity, a plan, the right choice, attention and direction. In their world, a queen is not born. She is supported, fed, and guided. And perhaps, as in the hive, in life, it is not with what you start out with that matters, but what you receive, how you are treated, and the decisions others make in difficult times. Because sometimes it's in the most difficult of times that the strongest leaders are born, not by chance, but by crisis, vision, and transformation. And that's my story about bees. It's a story my mother used to tell me whenever I was going through any transformation or challenge in my life. I don't think she said all of it, but I did find all of it on the internet, so I wanted to read it. Because I think it's very profound. One of my very favorite cards, I actually bought this for someone, and then I bought another one for me, and I framed it. And it's a quote from G.K. Chesterton. Fairy tales are more than true, not because they tell us that dragons exist, but because they tell us dragons can be beaten.
Yeah.
Right? And I've done my share of beating the dragons. Stephen Covey, one of my very favorite authors, he wrote, "Live out of your imagination, not your history." Mindset is everything. The driving force in the quest for success and achievement that combines discipline, strength, confidence, and ambition is a powerful mindset. This can achieve anything you set your mind to. A powerful mind can achieve anything. For me, my mindset must include a relationship with God. And I know that a lot of you know that my husband just passed a few months ago. And I want to just say a few words about, as I go through that grieving process, you know, I do cry and grieve, but I also now am finding that I appreciate, you know, we spent 47 years together, 45 married, and I'm appreciating that we went through, the life that we had together, because it was wonderful. I'm sure it was the good, the bad, and the ugly, but it was wonderful to go through life with him. And so how lucky am I to have had a love so true that makes saying goodbye so hard. And I think that anyone's going through any sort of transformation like that, we were just talking about that in Joys and Concerns. Going through the breast cancer journey, a grieving process. That is a grieving process. So I want to play this song for you that Jeff so lovingly downloaded for me. It's a little girl singing a song that's very ideological, but I sing it to myself every night before I go to bed, just to set my mind in the right place before I sleep.
And the words are in the program.
Pardon me?
And the words are in the program.
Oh yes, and the words are in the program. It's called A Million Dreams.